and the sea murmured its endless song. Had that really been her? The memories seemed vague and undefined, hazy and not quite real, as if it had all happened to someone else. Probably because it had. Meredith was a different person than that lonely girl yearning for affection. She once had a nanny who used to tell her that all the cells in her body replaced themselves every 3 months, so she really did become a new person, like a snake shedding its skin. She had learned as an adult that wasn't wholly true, that some cells regenerated every few days, others had much longer lifespans into the decades, and others never regenerated. Still, so many moments in her life had that ethereal, distant feeling, as if they'd happened to someone else. Certainly, the past 18 months seemed a nightmare from which she couldn't quite wake up. All of those things had happened to her, though. She couldn't wish away her history. She tightened her fingers around the steering wheel as she finished parking and turned off the engine. Like it or not, she owned it and would have to figure out now how to take the broken pieces of that history and rebuild herself into something better. Reaching beside her for her umbrella, Meredith climbed out of the car and extended it, every muscle in her body aching from the long drive and the uncomfortable seat that offered zero lumbar support. Sharp yearning washed over her for the leather luxury of her Mercedes, complete with both heating and cooling properties. She pushed it away. That was part of her before life. This was her now. With rain clicking against the nylon of the umbrella, she arched her back and inhaled a few deep breaths, for courage as well as calm. The mingled scent of sea and storm washed through her, smells that immediately took her back to long, rainy afternoons in Frances's old cottage on Starfish Beach, playing board games and watching old movies. Even in the rain, Cape Sanctuary seemed warm and welcoming, with flowers hanging from street lamps and more in baskets and windows. Outside the café, a bench with peeling red paint beckoned visitors and their tired feet to stop and enjoy the view. Did it also apply to those with tired spirits? Because her spirit was at low ebb right about now. Other disheartened travelers might be welcome to rest here. Not her. Meredith knew she would not be greeted with the typical warmth and comfort the café usually exuded. The people inside would not be thrilled to see her. Or at least one person wouldn't be, anyway. Her cousin and once best friend, Tori Ayala, would probably slam the door in her face and send her straight back out into the rain. Grow a spine, she chided herself. Tori couldn't send her packing, not when Meredith owned half of the café. She walked to the front door, lowering her umbrella once she was under the shelter of the entry. Heart pounding, she pulled open the door. At the chime of bells from the front door, the low hum of conversation and clink of glasses inside seemed to die away, and everyone turned to see the newcomer. It was mid-afternoon, past the busiest hour of lunch. Still, the café seemed to be enjoying a healthy business, more than Meredith might have expected for the off hour. "Be with you in a moment," a cheerful voice rang out. Nerves fluttered through Meredith. She knew that voice entirely too well. That voice had once been on the other end of all those secrets, sharing her own and taking Meredith's too. The last thing she wanted was a confrontation with Tori the moment she rolled into town, but she knew this one was unavoidable. She straightened, hitching her last designer purse a little more securely on her shoulder. All she had left was a wreck of a vehicle and the $300 contained in a Louis Vuitton bag worth about 6 times that much. Conscious of the patrons of the restaurant giving her sidelong, curious looks, Meredith shoved her hands into the pockets of her jacket, fighting with everything inside her against the urge to grab her bag tightly, push her way out the door, and flee back into the rain. And then what? She couldn't leave, not when she had nowhere else to go. A moment later, the person she most dreaded seeing came out of the kitchen. Her cousin, Tori, wore a trim black apron with the Beach End Café embroidered across the front in white, and her arms competently hefted a tray of at least 3 or 4 orders. Her brown hair was caught atop her head in a messy bun, and she had a pencil tucked behind one ear. She looked as beautiful as ever, bright and vibrant and so dear that the sight of her made emotions rise up in Meredith's throat. The sentiment was obviously not reciprocated. As Meredith might